Memory, record, and the way we remember. 1. Introduction. Hello everyone, and welcome back. Today, I want to reflect on something that all of us live with every day, but don't always stop to think about: memory. We usually think of memory in a very narrow sense, like memorizing vocabulary for a test, or trying to recall a friend's phone number. But when we take a step back, memory turns out to be much more than that. It's not just what's inside our head, it's also how cultures survive, how families pass down stories, and how we make sense of our lives. 2. Memory in the ancient world. Let's start in the ancient world. Imagine living before books, before paper, before even widespread writing. If you wanted to keep knowledge alive, you had to memorize it. In India, the Vedas, sacred hymns, were passed down orally for centuries. Priests invented elaborate ways to chant them forwards, backwards, and in alternating sequences, just to make sure not a single syllable was lost. In Greece, poets like Homer recited thousands of lines of epic poetry from memory. The rhythm and repeated phrases helped them keep it all in their heads. So in those days, the human brain itself was the storage device. Memory wasn't just important, it was civilization's hard drive. But it wasn't only in the head. Even before writing, people built temples, shrines, and stone monuments. Think of places like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, or Japan's ancient Jomon settlements. These sites carried meaning. They reminded people where to pray, how to dance, what stories mattered. The stones themselves became memory triggers. 3. Memory and record. This brings us to an important distinction: memory and record. Memory lives in people. It's active, it has meaning. Record is outside us: words on paper, carvings on stone, photos, or digital data. Records by themselves are dead. They only come alive when someone understands them, when memory connects with them. Think of Egyptian hieroglyphs. For centuries, they were just mysterious symbols. The records were there, but nobody could read them, until the Rosetta Stone unlocked their meaning. That's when record became memory again. So we can say, memory is record plus meaning. 4. Kinds of memory. Not all memory is the same. There's episodic memory, the memory of events. Like, I ate ramen with my friend last night. There's semantic memory, facts and knowledge, like, Tokyo is the capital of Japan. And then there's procedural memory, or what we might call embodied memory, knowing how to ride a bike, play piano, or perform a prayer ritual. You don't have to explain it in words, your body just remembers. These kinds of memory even live in different parts of the brain. Episodic memory depends on the hippocampus. Procedural memory relies on the cerebellum and the basal ganglia. That's why you might forget what you ate yesterday, but you never forget how to ride a bicycle. 5. Memory and culture. Culture is built on all of these. Stories and myths live in episodic memory. Rituals and dances live in embodied memory. Monuments and books serve as external records. Together, they make up cultural memory. A temple, for example, is not just a building. It tells you, this is where you pray. The statues and layout remind you of legends. The rituals performed there are stored in the body. In this way, culture keeps memory alive across generations. But there's more. Individual memory and cultural memory are deeply intertwined. On the one hand, individual memory gives us identity. It tells me who I am, where I come from, and what my story is. On the other hand, these personal memories are shaped and supported by culture. We remember within a language, within traditions, within the rituals and records our community provides. And sometimes, individual memory expands outward into cultural memory. A person's diary, testimony, or family story can be written down, photographed, or recorded, and then carried on by society even after that person is gone. So memory is never just mine or yours. It's always in dialogue with a larger cultural framework. 6. The burden of memorization. Of course, individuals have always struggled with memorization. Think of students in ancient China, memorizing the Confucian classics for the imperial exams. Or medieval monks reciting the Psalms in Latin. Or students today cramming vocabulary lists. For thousands of years, education meant memory work. People suffered through it because without memorization, knowledge couldn't be trusted. Books were scarce, access was limited. But then, printing arrived. Books became cheaper and widely available. Suddenly, you didn't have to carry entire texts in your head. You could look them up. And that shifted the role of memory, from storage to analysis. In modern scholarship, accuracy became possible and essential. Because everyone could access the same edition of a text, scholars began insisting on exact citations, page numbers, footnotes. In earlier times, citations were vague. People quoted, from memory, roughly, because that's all they had. 7. Memory in everyday life. Outside academia, memory has changed just as dramatically. Think about family memories. In the past, stories of grandparents were passed down orally, but by the time they reached the great-grandchildren, they were usually forgotten. Today, we have photographs and videos. We can see our grandparents' faces, hear their voices, even watch our pets long after they're gone. Smartphones have made this even more extreme. They capture thousands of images, everyday meals, casual outings, random moments. On the one hand, this means we now preserve far more memories than ever before. On the other hand, many of these records sit unseen. They risk becoming dead records, existing on a hard drive but disconnected from meaning. 8. The role of technology. Interestingly, our devices try to fix this problem. Your phone might pop up a notification, on this day, 10 years ago. You see a picture and suddenly remember a trip you had completely forgotten. The record becomes memory again. But here's the trade-off: we remember less by ourselves. We rely on external triggers. Without the photo, we might never recall the event. Our active memory weakens, while our archive of records expands. That means daily life is often lived in a short time frame, maybe just a few days. The long, continuous sense of time that people once carried is thinner now. The past survives, but only in fragments, when the phone reminds us. 9. The changing sense of time. Think about the contrast. In the past, fewer records, but stronger memories. Life felt slower. Letters took days to arrive. Special events stood out, and people retold them to keep them alive. Today, countless records, but weaker memories. Life feels fast. Messages arrive instantly. We live in short bursts, in notifications, in snapshots. Both worlds have advantages. The past gave people continuity, a long sense of narrative. The present gives us abundance, variety, and the ability to re-experience almost anything through digital archives. 10. Living with thin memory. So where does this leave us? Perhaps in a world where memory is thinner but broader. We hold fewer things in our heads, but we can call up more when we need to. We live less in long, continuous stories, and more in short, vivid fragments. And maybe that changes our values. Instead of always trying to fit life into one big story, we focus more on the present, enjoying today, relaxing now, being happy in the moment. 11. Conclusion. To sum up, memory is not just memorization, it's the foundation of culture. Memory lives in people, while records live outside us, and only become memory when we connect meaning to them. Individual memory and cultural memory support each other, and sometimes personal memories become part of society's shared record. Technology has shifted us from living with a few strong memories to living with many weak ones. We may now inhabit shorter time spans, supported by digital reminders. Is this good or bad? Maybe it's simply different. Every age has its own way of remembering, and its own way of forgetting. What matters is that we stay aware of how our tools are shaping our sense of self, our culture, and our time. Thanks for listening.